Big 10 Plus 4 is a member of Odd Pods Media and ASAP All Sports All Plays Network. Hello, and welcome to Big 10 Plus 4, where we bring you Midwest, or college sports with a Midwest perspective. We are blue collar and blue blood. Today, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. I am, if you're watching on the streaming medium, you'll see that I don't have Tony and I don't have Dalton, but I do have a guest host. It is GameDayGabi. She is the contributor to Hammer and Rails, Purdue sports outlet. She's joined on with me to talk a little bit about the Boilermakers, but also the women's tournament and some stuff going on in the men's side. Gabby, thanks for coming on with me.
Thanks for having me. This is my first streaming live situation, so you'll have to excuse me if I'm awkward.
No problem at all. And we stream live, but we're recording this before any games tip off. So we do have some tournament games coming on that we won't necessarily talk about. Penn State and Minnesota and Northwestern and Rutgers in the women's tournament, but those will be probably done by the time we're streamed. So we're going to concentrate on the further rounds of the tournament and kind of talk about that. But we have a lot on the docket. Gabby, we're both Purdue fans. We kind of, and I hate saying it, but we kind of backed into a championship this weekend simply because we needed Northwestern to lose to say, hey, we're Big Ten champs.
It was a weird way to celebrate after the loss, and then we're like, oh, we won the Big Ten, or at least got a share.
Well, and I was even thinking about that. I mean, like literally, I talked about it on Friday, that as soon as whatever the outcome on Saturday didn't have any ramifications necessarily on whether Purdue won the title. If Northwestern wins, they would have gotten it outright. There's still hope for you, Purdue, for all the Purdue fans. 2 more games remain. We can get the outright title. And is this disappointing for Purdue? Like riding so high for so long, and then all of a sudden they're kind of fluttering at the end. What are your thoughts? You're around the team a little bit more, or you see it a little bit more.
I was like going back through last season yesterday, and I'm not going to compare the two because they're 2 different teams.
For sure.
But funny enough, a year ago, we were exactly 25-4. And that was a team we expected to win the Big Ten, and then we didn't, and we were just disappointed. This year, I don't think any of us expected to win the Big Ten, and we're still somehow disappointed. It's like we shouldn't be I mean, I know it obviously wasn't, we wanted to clinch it against IU at home, but I think big picture is Purdue put themselves in a position that, they've lost some games, but they also won a lot of games at the beginning to afford to, I guess, drop those and still get a share as of now.
That's what I always, having coached for so long, I've always posited that this is why you get a lead. Yeah. That's why you get a 3.5 game lead. You play as well. That way, if you do struggle, guess what? You still have that cushion that you can correct the ship. You can get things going right, and we're still in good shape. And I've said that last year's team was the more talented of the 2, but this year is the team is better. And I think that goes a long way in saying they weren't supposed to be this high in the conference. But that's why their team is better than what they were last year.
Last year, I felt like there was a lot more standing around because we had someone like Ivy who had the ability to take over at any moment. Mm-hmm. Where this year, I mean, we do have Edie, and I hate to say it, more so in the beginning of the season, it was like every ball counted. I mean, you'd see multiple Purdue players diving after balls, like every basket was so big. That's what's a little worrisome to me right now. I felt like the energy for having a week off against IU was not there. It was a little lackadaisical in play. So that's my only worry, because Purdue is best when they're playing like every possession is the last possession. And that's how we were playing.
Well, and I guess that is the biggest disappointment from that game on Saturday is that, they played even the first half while they were ahead. They just didn't seem like they had the killer instinct that they'd been playing with for 75 to 80% of the season leading into that game. And the revenge factor, even, you're being embarrassed in the first half against them in Bloomington. You storm back like you're the team. You didn't come through, but that gave you such great thought process of going into Saturdays, and you had a week off going into it, and you did that.
It's why I hate breaks. Everyone always says like, oh, the guys need rest, but I feel like every time Purdue has a break, they come out flat.
Yeah.
Because I saw someone ask in the Big Ten tournament, would you rather have them lose and get more rest before? I'm like, no, win. Win, get hot, and ride that momentum. I
never want Purdue to lose. I never want my team to lose, period, let alone, this will do them some good. I know, but I think Mike DeCourcy placed it very well. They are hitting their skid at the perfect time in the aspect of they still have time to correct it. It's whether or not they do get to
it. So last year I kept waiting for them to turn that corner, and they never did. And so you're just, as a Purdue fan, you're apprehensive. Are they going to turn that corner? And I think these next two games and the tournament will tell us a lot on how they're get their offense a little more free flowing and not just going through Edey.
Yeah. Well, and the shot takers. I mean, Edey put up his points Saturday. He scored, but nobody else stepped up and hit open. They couldn't have thrown the ball into the ocean if they were standing on the beach. That's how they weren't hitting any shots, and it's frustrating. But those are also, those tend to be, like a pendulum. Occasionally, you're going to hit that, and it's going to come back. And so
we had that cold streak in December, if you remember, when we were shooting out, and then it came back. So hopefully, I mean, shooters, you almost got to just shoot your way through it.
Yeah. Well, and to move to another topic that had been kind of got a little hotly contested, actually, a little bit in the comments. But we had our Twitter poll that just ended, and this was the Twitter poll. Who do you have as your Big Ten freshman of the year? Your choices were the Braden Smith of Purdue, Fletcher Lawyer of Purdue, Jalen Hood-Schifino of IU, and then the famous other. And I'm looking at it, Gabby, and it's 66% for Braden Smith, 19% for Hood-Schifino, 12% for Fletcher Lawyer, and 3% for the other. How do you feel about that after Saturday's game? Did that change your mind completely?
Yeah. Well, I think I told you on Twitter, it's hard not to have recency bias because right now Schifino is playing tremendous. Lawyer's dropped off. Well, he did get 12, I guess, against IU, but he's kind of dropped off. And Smith and Schifino are just kind of different players. And so, Schifino's probably going to, he could declare for the draft after next year. So he's kind of got that dynamite spark. So I could see him. But who you didn't include in it was Sensabaugh.
We actually, the only reason we put, we could only put four choices. And Dalton mentioned Schifino in the show when I put the Twitter poll up. So it was one of those, and Sensabaugh showed up in the comments, and I absolutely love Bryce Sensabaugh. For my midseason awards, I had him on the first team All Big Ten.
Yeah,
but I had to take the team's overall production and record into consideration when I didn't say it's Sensabaugh.
Yeah, because I was going to say, when I was looking at the stats, I mean, he blows everybody out, but they're on a not very good team. So then you got to consider that Schifino's playing with TJD, so he's kind of splitting shots there, and Smith is with Lawyer and Edey. So I don't know. It's hard for me because I feel like I'm biased, so I would say Smith, but I mean, Schifino's just been electric as of late. So it's hard not to give him the nod there.
Well, and I even engaged in some of the conversation. The gentleman said it was Schifino's uncle that I was talking to, and he said it's absolutely Hood-Schifino. And I said, it sounds to me that we're basically splitting hairs. I mean, it could be either one, but I personally just think that the value of what was the team supposed to do what the team is doing and what is his role. And all year long, even though he's a freshman, obviously the awards freshman of the year, but even though he's a freshman, he's acting almost like a junior, making some of these decisions and getting the team that was supposed to be 5th or 6th in the Big Ten to number 1 in the country, let alone the top spot in the conference. And I just thought that to me gave him the edge over Schifino. I really like Hood-Schifino. I really do. But it hurts me. It hurts other people see my hat or my shirt and say, oh, well, you're just picking the Purdue guy. Honestly, you could vote for Schifino and I would say, okay, that's fine. But I just personally think that the value that Braden Smith's bringing to Purdue is totally unexpected. And the results have gotten his team to higher in the polls, in the conference, and in projections.
Yeah, you call them the floor general, which is kind of like even things that don't show up in the stat. He kind of just leads the team in a way that you wouldn't expect a freshman, not alone a true freshman, to do. I mean, he was like this diamond in the rough.
Well, and I don't know if maybe it's almost out of spite that he's performing so well because, he only had 5 Division I offers. And they weren't huge schools other than Purdue. So, I don't know if maybe he's got a little chip on his shoulder, and good for us, if he does, because we're going to reap the benefits from it. But I think he is very undervalued in everybody else's eyes. It's the Purdue fans that see him, or the ones that really study the Big Ten, that see that what Braden Smith's actually doing. And this is not at all, and I will beat this drum, not at all knocking on Jalen Hood-Schifino. Not at all. And it hurts me because he's from IU.
I know. He's a stud. I think I caused that loss because we did our round table for Hammer and Rails about what Purdue needed to do. And I was like, well, Hood-Schifino hasn't been playing well on the road at all. So, I mean, they got TJD basically, and he just shot lights out against us. I was like, well, I'll eat my words.
Trace Jackson, or that game on Saturday, to me, though, absolutely cemented player of the year for Zach Edey, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is he was on Trace Jackson Davis most of the game on defense, and Davis was guarding him, and he manhandled him during the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, people are saying he's closing the gap. I'm like, but the gap's still pretty big. At this point, I think Edey's. I mean, we got 2 games left. Mm-hmm. I don't see how he doesn't get it.
I don't see how anybody would say after 2 head-to-head games with one another. Yes, IU won both of them, but if we're talking about individual awards here, Edey outperformed him in both games.
He put up 33 and 18 and we lost. It still blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Well, we're actually, believe it or not, Gabby, we tend to go heavy in the first quarter, but this kind of wrapped up what I wanted to talk about in the first quarter, so we can move to the second and kind of go over what the schedule looks like for the men going forward into the tournament. But stick around for for a minute here, and we'll hit the second quarter. So let me take off the graphic. There we go. All right, be right back after this break. So Tony, I just bought some flyers to do, a grassroots type of advertising for Big 10+4, and
you can't go wrong with that type of promotion either.
Yeah, correct. And I got a great deal on flyers at Sticker Mule.
Yeah, I remember you saying that all of our stickers, all of our Klingons, everything like that comes from Sticker Mule.
Yeah, now our flyers too.
I guess so. So Sticker Mule is supposed to be the easiest way you can buy custom stickers, decals, labels, and other printing items all online, right?
Yeah, order in 60 seconds and they'll turn your designs and illustrations into custom stickers, magnets, buttons, labels, and packaging in just days. They offer free online proofs, free worldwide shipping, and super fast turnaround. If you click on the link in the show notes, Herman is going to give you $10 off any purchase of at least $10.
And you can start designing and order in minutes with Sticker Mule.
Yeah, and thank you, Sticker Mule. I don't know what it is with that second quarter whistle, but it never whistles all the way through. But yeah. So moving
I was
to
looking down at my notes.
That's no problem. Moving to the second quarter, we're going to look at a little bit of what's going on in the men's schedule leading up. Last night was one of those. This is so baffling. We just got done talking about IU going on the road, beating Purdue quite convincingly in the second half, and for the whole year they've struggled on the road all year. Then they go home and host Iowa and get ran out of the gym.
Did you watch it?
I didn't watch any of it. I had baseball meetings for my kids and stuff, so I didn't even make it to watch it. And I saw a couple of posts saying, "Oh my gosh, a layup here, layup there. Everybody gets a layup. I use like Oprah." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I look, and it's 26 points. I'm like, "What the? Whoa!"
The defense, like I'll give it credit to Iowa. I mean, they just shot like lights out. I don't know what it ended up being. They were shooting like 70% at some point. Like it was, but I will say there was so much standing around. But like they were just. It was like a game at the rec against a fifth grade team. Like it was like they were just like letting them backdoor alley oops. Like Iowa looked like. It was just unbelievable. I could not believe. And though IU was kind of known for that, they get a big win and then they kind of lose the next one. They've done that a lot.
A little bit of a letdown type thing.
Yeah, like a Purdue hangover.
I'm looking. Iowa was 55.6% and they were 56.5% from three. So like,
yeah.
And here's the thing. I had Iowa going to the Elite Eight last year, like because they could score points on in no moment's notice. They don't have the exact same team, but they've still got that team that can explode. So you've got to always be kind of cognizant of that and be careful with them. But after such a big game to come out with such a whimper just blows my mind, because IU to me is the second best team in the Big Ten. That's to me, there's no doubt about it. And yes, the two games against Purdue kind of solidifies that feeling to me, because I think Purdue's the best team in the conference. So I think if you're able to beat that team twice, and the way you're playing, but to do this, it baffles me. And it was at home. That's what kills me.
Well, if you remember, Iowa beat us in the Big Ten tournament last year.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that. Uh-oh, did I lose you? Hello? Oh, well, yeah. There you are.
Yeah.
There you are. Well, I don't know if it was my internet or yours, but the last thing I heard you say was Purdue lost to Iowa in the tournament last year.
Yeah. They're always that team that kind of gets hot at the right time. And the Murray twins, I can't never remember if it's Chris or Keegan, which one's graduated.
Keegan was last year. Chris is this year.
Okay. Yeah. They're both just like, they could take over, and that's kind of how he was last night. I don't know what he ended up having, but he had 24 points at some point.
He had 26 overall. He was 9 of 16 for in the field and 3 of 5 from the free throw line.
I was hoping for a Fran Tech though. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, we still got an Iowa Tech, because Sanford blew the kiss to the fans there and got him a technical. Honestly, I hate seeing players get techs, but that's kind of one of those that's like, yeah.
Okay. It was funny. Someone's like, the student section could say all they want to them. I don't know what they were chanting at him, but I mean, they were up like 20. It was kind of worth it.
And I think that's probably why it's if they were only up by, that was a 3 to give them a 1 point lead and he got it, then I think it'd probably be an issue. I mean, you don't want to necessarily see it all the time, but oh my goodness, some of the chants you hear from crowds anyways, I'm shocked we haven't seen somebody go off in a different way other than just blowing a kiss,
I know.
But coming up tomorrow, which is Thursday, Purdue goes to the Kohl Center. They can clinch the outright tournament or outright championship and the number 1 seed in the tournament. How you feeling about going to Madison? Because I can tell I'm probably considerably older than you, and I can remember going to Wisconsin with Glenn Robinson, undefeated, number 2 or 3 in the country, and they got housed in Madison. Madison's tough for Purdue all over the board.
I know. And this is the game last year we ended up dropping and losing the Big Ten. Of course, Wisconsin was a different team last year. But Wisconsin is slow, and they kind of slow us down. And I think it throws us off a little bit. I don't know. But at least they're not a high pressure. I don't know. They're just not playing that well. If Purdue doesn't win this one, I'm going to be worried. They should win this one.
Well, you just nailed what I was getting ready to say is they do slow it down, but that plays into Purdue's hand.
I was going to say
Purdue loves getting across the half court line and dumping it down to the post and playing out from there. So it's one of those, if you're not going to pressure them, and if you notice, and I know you do, but Purdue struggles with the press the most. That's what leads to their turnovers. That's what leads to them hurrying shots. That's what leads to them losing 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that if you're not going to pressure them and you're going to let them get across the half court line and set up, Purdue's got an advantage from the tip before they even take a shot with 7-4 down in the post.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. Is like and everyone got so mad when I said Iowa had figured out the blueprint for us. But Purdue tends to get found out. Teams adjust, and we don't. Now, we've done better against the press this year than last year, but not even press, like high pressure from guards, like lengthy guards.
Yep.
It's like our Achilles heel. We can't, our freshmen get rattled and we can't handle it. And that's my biggest worry in March.
Well, and that's the key is if, even if the freshmen will struggle a little bit, if you've got people hitting shots outside, on the outside, Purdue would have won that game Saturday if somebody else would have been hitting shots as well, and even with the struggles that the freshmen had getting the ball, to where it needed to go. If they had plenty of shots, they just didn't hit them. That was the biggest problem.
So I actually saw something, it was some stat, and it was about their shot selection or shot quality of the night. And they said the shots that Purdue took were actually really good. They didn't fall that night for whatever reason.
They were open shots. They didn't seem like they were too hurried. I mean, occasionally you'd be like, oh, why didn't you hold on to that and work it around? But yeah, I think tomorrow for Purdue is going to be a gauge of if they're really in trouble or if they just hit that little hump and they've gotten over it and they're at least moving in the right direction with Wisconsin, because Wisconsin, they've got a freshman that's really good. Connor Esijan, he can hit shots. So they're at home. If he can get open and hit shots, Purdue could be in trouble. So, I mean, I honestly could see Purdue going and losing tomorrow. I don't think they will, but I see that there's at least an avenue that they could.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all about, for some reason, we start games slow. Now, IU not as much, but who was it? Who did we play before that?
Maryland?
Ohio State.
Oh, yeah, Ohio State.
We were down like 8-0, and then we obviously came back and won, but that's kind of been like a reoccurring thing. And so I'd like to see them come out and just get hot and just and put their foot on the gas and not let up.
Well, that's the hope from the Purdue faithful, at least, that it happens that way. I know others are probably saying, well, it's just regular Purdue. They're gonna do well and then come into the tournament and go out like a lamb. And I did want to ask, Dalton and I have talked about this multiple times, and Tony as well. What value do you put on a regular season championship or a long run in March? Which one's more important for the program? In your eyes.
You mean like make it to the Final Four?
It doesn't matter. Just a long run. If it was Elite Eight, would you prefer that or a regular season title?
Oh, a long run. Just because I love the conference championship, and I always think it's a testament of you being good all season, where March, look at UConn that one year. You get hot at the right time and you make a run, and it's all about who you play and matchup, and it's one game. Well, and so
I know it's painful for you, but remember Carson Edwards. It's painful for me too, but Carson Edwards was out of he was Kemba Walker-ish in that tournament.
Yeah. Well, and then Klein the game before. Purdue never has that person that does that. We had it happen twice, and we lost that game, which is why it was so devastating, because you don't get a player like Carson Edwards in the tournament every year. But yeah, deep run in March, 100%. I want to see a Final Four so bad.
So do I. I was 6 months old when they went to the Final Four the last time. Like, it's been that long. And honestly, I've never seen it consciously, them in the Final Four. And we had Charlie Wills on a couple of weeks ago, and he played at Wisconsin in 2000 and beat Purdue in the Elite Eight. And I'm like, oh, that was our best shot at that time up until that, in my life. And it's like, come on.
I know. Well, so what would you rather have?
Honestly, I want a long run in March, but I don't think it defines Purdue's season. You know what I mean? So I would prefer, if I had to choose, I'll take the Big Ten title. But
really?
I don't consider it a wrong answer either, though. I don't consider you saying you want a March run in a wrong answer over a Big Ten title. I just personally like the longevity of a full season and showing that they were the best team of the Big Ten. And it's like you said, Iowa always seems to just get hot and make a run. Well, how many Big Ten regular season titles have they had in the past 10 years? And so I think it speaks of what Purdue does with what they get. They don't get the 5 stars that all the big blue bloods normally get, but yet they're year in and year out, and historically have the most Big Ten titles in history. So I personally put a value on the title over a long run.
What about the Big Ten tournament? Do you care about that?
Honestly, no. I want Purdue to win it. I cheer for Purdue. I watch all the games. I hope they win. But if they lose in the Big Ten tournament, unless they need it for a bid, it doesn't faze me if they lose in the tournament.
I know it's not like that big of a deal, but I think just because we never do win, like I want them to, just because we've made it
the whole time.
Yeah, I just want to see it. And then I guess that would, for me, feel like, okay, now we got momentum going in to the rest of March.
And you know what? I totally don't disagree with that. But at the same time, I also look at you can use that loss as a learning experience in the aspect of, okay, we got through our one and done in the Big Ten tournament. Now we really are one and done. We know that pressure, the freshmen, don't want to, whatever. But it's one of those that the Big Ten tournament, when it comes to that, I like it. But
well, if you remember that year we went to the Elite Eight, we lost to Minnesota in the second round. And Minnesota was horrible. And we went through that Carson Edwards went through like a really bad shooting spell. And everybody was like calling the bench him. And I remember Painter being like, shoot or shoot. He'll start making them. And he did.
There's another conversation for another day, is losing twice to IU and then calling for Matt Painter's job. Who are you going to get outside of that? Come on.
I don't know. People are nuts.
It's recency. I know it's recency. And they're like, no, look at who he's had. He has not had the Mike Krzyzewski lineup of 5 stars. He's turned teams that weren't supposed to be much of anything into gems. Jaden Ivey was an anomaly, not the rule. He was the exception to the rule. He just doesn't normally get the 5 stars, and for whatever reason. But for him to, I don't even honestly know how many Big Ten titles that makes for Matt Painter. But like, come on. I mean,
I know
he's in the top 5 in wins in Big Ten history. Like that.
We're spoiled because Purdue competes every year. Even this year, when it was a rebuilding year, we won. Like, we're always competitive in the conference. It hasn't been since what was it, like 2013, 2014, when we were like last in the Big Ten. IU like rolled us by 30 at home.
38 at home. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
So we are so spoiled with just kind of always expecting. I mean, the Sweet 16 almost for us is like we're going to get to the Sweet 16. And then now we want to get to the next. But I mean, there's a lot of teams that aren't even, look at IU. They made the tournament for the first time last year. Kinda. They were playing a game.
But they got to the rest of the tournament, however you want to call it. But let's, before we jump to the break, which is here really close. Each team has looks like 2 games left, at least, if not, well, 2 games, if not 1. Some have only one remaining. But we're looking at Maryland. Purdue's got a 2-game lead in front of Maryland, Michigan, Northwestern. Those three teams, Michigan was the only one that's supposed to be at the top of the Big Ten. That's how crazy this Big Ten tournament is, or Big Ten season is.
Purdue could either win one or all 3 of those can lose, and IU plays Michigan, and then I don't know who the other 2 play.
I will not root for IU. So.
No, I'd rather Purdue win it because they won it. You know,
yeah, absolutely. And I know this has been an extremely heavy Purdue half, but honestly, we're kind of in that lull right now, and to where it really picks up. Yes, we have some doubt in who's going to be all considered in the Big Ten championship, but we're pretty much settled in. This is going to be roughly the outcome. The seedings will come as the rest of this week comes and the games play out and the weekend rolls around. So it's going to be an exciting Big Ten tournament for the men because of all of the big cluster that we have. What is it? 2 games separate. Oh no, I'm sorry. 1 game separates 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 through 2.
I know.
Like 1 game.
It's crazy.
I've seen a lot of clusters, in pods and stuff, but never this huge of one to where like Rutgers could still finish second in the conference.
So
and they're
weird.
sitting in 9th. So it's going to be exciting to see how this plays out. But I guess that wraps us up for the men. Let's move to the halftime break, and we'll talk some women's tournament, postseason awards, all sorts of stuff like that. So let's go to the break. You are listening to Big Ten Plus 4, hosted on Anchor and StreamYard.
Hi, I'm Lauren.
And I'm John.
And we host the Beard Owl Podcast, the podcast where we talk about 2 of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al.
And a bunch of other stuff.
That's right. Do you like nostalgia? Do you like sibling banter? Do you like beer? Do you like Weird Al? Are you human?
If you answered yes to any of those questions, give us a listen. Become one of our loyal commenters.
Hey, you there. We've got a question for you. Are you tired of clickbait stories and the loudest voices driving discussions in culture and entertainment?
If so, I'm Dylan.
I'm Kendall.
And I'm Corey.
And we host the podcast From the Middle. We're middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with points of view somewhere in the middle.
We take a more reasonable and centrist approach in our discussions covering genres like comedy, culture, entertainment, and interviews with really interesting folks like business owners, comic creators, doctors, news anchors, New York Times best-selling illustrators, professional stand-up comics, and more. We really value a relaxed and conversational podcast, one that we hope is so fun and laid back, you'll forget you're not actually hanging out with us.
So search at From the Mid Pod, just like it sounds, or check us out everywhere you can find podcasts.
Good Lord. I'll tell you what, my whistles aren't working very well. All right, moving to the third quarter. We're going to move to the women's side of the basketball. And as you can see the graphic, the Big Ten tournament kicks off today. And the 2 games, Wisconsin, Penn State and Minnesota and Northwestern and Rutgers, they are tipping off here before too long while we're recording. But while you're watching it, they're probably done. So at least one of them is, if not both. But we're going to concentrate on Thursday and kind of what that can play into on Friday. And Gabby, what are your thoughts on this tournament? Is this a tough tournament leading into the Friday, or is there a team in Thursdays and today's games that could give those four that got all the way buys any sort of trouble? Maybe Michigan?
Maybe in Illinois. I mean, they're pretty good. Iowa and Indiana are like leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. I mean,
sure.
Not that they can't lose. Everyone has bad games, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's those two at the end for a third matchup. And the first two were, the last game was like the Iowa won on a buzzer beater by Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, well, and Dalton, if he were here, he would be sure to tell you that if Michigan State wins and plays IU before the Iowa game, they were the only one that could beat IU. So, not saying that it would happen, but at the same time, that is a team that knows and has done what only one other team has done this season, to where, that's putting an L on the IU side of their record.
And that wasn't very close, if I remember.
No, from what I remember is IU was ahead for a good portion of the game, but Michigan State came storming back and actually kind of put some distance between them, hit free throws, hit some shots that really kind of separated them to where I'm not saying it's going to be an upset, but I would say at least look out for that. There might be a revenge factor. I don't know. Maybe IU puts it to them, but it's one of those that I could see a good game coming from Michigan State, since they have the recipe and know what they did to, and maybe adjust a little bit, but it's a.
And I think you play a little stiffer when they beat you.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, okay, they've done it before, and now everything's like a little more on the line. Win or go home, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, anybody could. Like I said, Illinois is competitive. I mean, Ohio State's good. They had that little drop off, but they were missing their point guard for a while. But they're a good team too. They were, second in the nation at one point. So,
and they finished the conference at 12-6 overall. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But it's one of those, like you said, and I've posited many times and still do, that freshmen or younger players that don't have haven't gone through the rigors of a regular season at the college level, Division I college level, they hit a wall eventually, and they've got to fight through it and get up and to where they're back up at where they were, but it takes some time. And I think honestly that could be where Ohio State was. Is they're slowly pulling themselves back. Maybe they're not number 2 in the country like they got to, but they're a heck of a lot better than what was it, 4 straight losses that they had.
Luckily Purdue ran into them. Yeah, Purdue ran into them at the right time, and we beat them on the road.
Yeah, so I mean, and I even pull that even to the men's side with Purdue, because they've got freshmen and young players that are in really significant roles, that if they hit that wall, it's going to affect the team's overall production as well. So that's kind of what I don't disagree that Ohio State could maybe come out of this. I'm not saying that they will beat IU if they play them in the semifinals, but I think they absolutely could give them at least a fight and maybe even pull an upset off of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
I do have, let's see here. Let me get over there and switch it over. Maybe there it is. Let's look at the All Big Ten team now, since we kind of went over the upcoming tournament. This is the first team of the All Big Ten women's team. Any surprises here from this? Any omissions that you thought should have happened? Anything like that?
No, and I mean, I will admit that, like, I watch women's basketball. Yeah. I watch Purdue specifically because I write about them a lot. Sure. But I'm just not as well knowledgeable about the rest of the Big Ten teams.
Honestly,
so
I would personally, I would say there are, to me, no real glaring omissions. I mean, Grace Berger, Mackenzie Holmes, then you have Caitlin Clark and Zanano. Diamond Miller, honestly, is one of those that Maryland is so athletic. Oh my gosh, they're so long and athletic. And Dalton was even saying he was in College Park with Michigan State, and Michigan State put up 44 threes against them because they couldn't get inside. They couldn't dribble drive and get the closer ones. So he saw them put up 44 3-pointers because, well, and when Iowa went there and got housed, they put up 33 3-pointers.
Yeah.
It's because they're so long and athletic that they wreak havoc. Honestly, I think Maryland could make a good run in the tournament.
Yeah, I was just going to say they are actually like 7th right now, I believe.
Yep.
And not to bring it back to Purdue.
Sorry, 5th.
Oh, 5th. Yeah. So
poll yesterday.
That was Purdue's kind of fighting for their seed. That they lost to Minnesota, and so if that was a really bad loss.
Yeah.
If they had won that, and then they have Wisconsin. But they lost to Maryland by 3. And now you look back at that game and you're like, man, if we could have got that game, we'd be feeling a lot more comfortable about Selection Sunday now.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the kicker is Maryland on the men's and women's side are almost identical in the aspect of they go away from College Park. They're very beatable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go back to something Dalton said. He said, they came to East Lansing and it went to overtime and Maryland needed overtime to win by 3.
Yeah.
And it's so I don't know how that translates because it's IU on the men's side is almost exactly the same. They're unbeatable almost at home. And then they go on the road and they're a totally and completely different team. What does that do for March?
I know.
Like when you get into a tournament, when you're not playing at home, well, IU will, the women on Maryland may play at home for the first 2 rounds.
I was going to say, what is Maryland putting in that water over there?
Because I know that's kind of what I was thinking.
It's unstoppable at home. Like I saw that when Northwestern had to lose, I'm like, oh, they're going to Maryland. It's over.
Yeah.
Just call it.
Yeah. And then 2 weeks prior to that, they Maryland went to Nebraska and got beat.
I mean, it's
just
weird.
So it's definitely an environment unknown or unlike any other, really, because it's one of those that you go into it and you get beat, but they come to you. The culture does, or the environment doesn't come with them, and all of a sudden they're beatable. And so the neutral court is going to potentially hurt those teams because they're not at home. And it's not necessarily an away game, but it's not at home, and so it's
and then you have the ball factor, the different ball that they use, the Wilson balls or whatever.
Here's my question. The NCAA is so all-knowing and everything, and they're the governing body. Can't they just say everybody uses this ball?
Yeah, I think it's extremely odd. Honestly, I didn't even think about it, that the same ball wouldn't be used in every game, in every arena, in every tournament. Sasha just tweeted that. He was like, I always thought it was weird that they didn't all use the same ball. Although I do think that was skewed a little bit because they said Purdue played bad with the Wilson balls. But I'm like, well, those were obviously away games too. I mean, so the home, they use the ball they win more with the ball they use in Mackey, but that makes sense.
They use a Nike ball at home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go burn the Wilsons. I'm torture factories.
Hey, easy there. I live only about 25 minutes away from the Wilson football factory, at least. So don't go to the football side, but
all right.
I don't know if they make the basketballs there. I don't think they do. I think it's just the football factory. But it's weird that the governing body being, wow, they've shown that they don't really care about making rules and sticking to them. At least I am not a fan of how they govern college sports anymore at all, because it's like when name, image, and likeness was coming down the pike 10 years ago, they knew it was coming. And they waited until it started, and then they went to Congress asking for help. Come on, you knew this was coming. Go do your job. What do you get paid to do? And so I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the I don't know. Anyways, so let's move to the postseason awards. Caitlin Clark's not a surprise to me.
Although I think people were wondering if Holmes would get it.
Honestly, I thought about that. I figured it would be Clark, but I didn't even see the voting, honestly, but I thought maybe Holmes could, since they won the Big Ten and since they,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess I can't argue with Caitlin Clark. But I am maybe a little surprised that maybe Mackenzie Holmes could have taken that, but she got the defensive player of the year. And from what I understand, I haven't watched all of IU's games. I've watched a few of them. That's fitting. I mean, she is a defensive presence on the court. So Cody McMahon for Ohio State, she's one of those freshmen that I was talking about that played out of their minds going into 19-0, I think is what they hit before they lost. And then all of a sudden they kind of hit that wall. I think if she starts producing at a high clip, and I cannot for the life of me remember their point guard that they lost. She's been trying to work her way back in too. I guess I could look it up. Jeez,
is it Berger?
No, that Grace Berger is on IU.
Yeah.
Where in the world? This is horrible. I don't have the roster pulled up. I usually do. Not Mixel, Parrish, Sheldon, JC Sheldon, isn't it?
Sheldon, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. She's been working her way back in and getting some reps. I think if she comes back and actually gets to her ability, I think they could be a force to be reckoned with there too. So it's one of those that I'm really looking forward to that. And I just realized I didn't ever do the third quarter whistle or the fourth quarter whistle, but we'll just keep on talking, Gabby. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tweet. All right. But it's coach of the year does not surprise me at all. I think Terry Moran is awesome. I hate it that she's an IU coach that I have to say that she's awesome. But I give credit where credit's
because she's from Purdue.
That too.
That's why it's painful.
And a lot of people don't realize that Karen Versup, who was at Purdue, was at IU prior to going to Purdue. So they flip-flop, but then Katie Gerald's, I can remember her playing at Purdue. Oh, geez. I'm old.
Purdue's kind of funny because, I mean, we're not there with Iowa and IU at all. I do think they're turning the corner. She's doing a good job about, getting recruits in, because with women, it's a lot about transfers. I hope that she can bring us back to that level and make us, and they could play really good. Like we beat Illinois and Ohio State on the road, but then they just drop off during games. It's like they have a lot of glue players, but not, besides Petrie, not a lot of playmakers. And
she got second team, didn't she?
She did not.
She didn't?
No. She did really good in the beginning of the season. And then nothing was ever said, but she was benched for a while. She wasn't playing. I don't know if she got sick. And she lost a lot of minutes, and Ellis was doing really well. But she's back. So I'm not sure what happened there.
Maybe an undisclosed injury or something.
Yeah. Terry got, I wrote it down. She got all Big Ten defensive team by the media.
Oh, okay. That's what I saw.
Second team all conference, and honorable mention all big by the coaches poll. And then Ellis got all Big Ten honorable mention.
Okay. I couldn't remember what I was seeing, honestly. I couldn't remember.
And that was the first time since 2020, and only the 13th time in history that Purdue got a girl in the defensive team. So that's kind of cool for us.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. That's awesome. It's I'm looking forward to the tournament. This is my first real tournament where I'm actually paying a huge amount of attention to the women's side. It has to do with the fact that we started talking about it on the show, the women on this show. And so I'm really excited about this Big Ten tournament, and then also the NCAA as well. It's
unfortunate because they don't air a lot of women's. I mean, I have Big Ten Plus basically for Purdue, or you can't watch the games, and it's right. And I write about them, and so I like to watch, and it's so hard to grasp a game if you weren't watching it just by reading stats.
Yep. And I found myself watching a lot more games coming through. I am a baseball guy, as you can tell, the Cubs stuff behind me and everything. I'm a baseball guy, But my favorite college sport is absolutely basketball because my grandfather was a coach. He loved, not in college, but he was a basketball coach, and we would just always watch it. So like this time of the year is amazingly just awesome to me. And now I'm looking at a second tournament. And I'm like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So
I know
it feels this is my what is that song by Andy Williams? The most wonderful time of the year. That's right now. We're getting into it.
nothing's better than like a Tuesday when you like turn on and there's like 3 good games lined up.
Yeah, I love at noon you can flip on TV and all of a sudden there's live basketball being played during the week. Goodness gracious, that's awesome.
It's always depressing when it's all over. I mean, and then you're like, okay, time to go outside. To watching basketball.
Right. It's one of those that I'm going to take this graphic off because I got to have you talk for a minute. But yeah, it's almost like you're sitting there. What is that meme where the guy's sitting on the porch swing by himself, standing in the empty pool? That's kind of how you feel at least once Thursday, Friday, that first weekend, because then you're just like, well, last week we were watching basketball during the day,
and it seems so long when you're like, oh my god, we gotta wait all next season.
Yep, absolutely. Well, Gabby, we're gonna wrap it up. We're running up on 50 plus minutes, so we're gonna kind of be able to do the close. Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you and kind of what to expect from you during the season.
I'm mainly just a Twitter like personality, I guess. You'll see my tweets throughout the games; they're very professional. And then I do write for Hammer and Rails, and I got someone talking out of here. That's we can find me at GameDayGabi on Twitter.
There you go. That's and that's okay. I barely tweet.
I dabble in some podcasts.
Okay. Well, and now you've streamed at least once. Oh, well, I appreciate you filling in. It's not that I couldn't talk myself. I do once a week anyways, but this felt like it needed to be done. For one thing, we do have a celebration. Purdue is the Big Ten champion in men's basketball, whether they end up sharing or being outright. This is an unexpected turn of events from what we expected at the beginning of the season, because honestly, I looked at the preseason tournament or predictions and thought, yeah, okay, I can accept 5th. I mean, tournament bid and maybe a second round exit or whatever. I didn't expect this. So I've had so much fun watching Purdue play this year. I hope we've got at least 10 or 12 games left. That would be fantastic. Let's go on a winning streak and not lose the rest of the season. And let's put one of those banners that we're told we don't have anyways up and say, yeah, but ours is most recent. That would be fantastic, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's been a blast. I love that we can always have a team that comes out and does good. And honestly, with the recruits coming in, it's going to be some fun years ahead.
I tell you what, if Zach Edey sticks around for next year, God help the Big Ten and their coaches, because William Berg is an inside out 7-foot plus player that watch out for him, because he can shoot the 3 and he can dribble drive and basically post you up too. So it's going to be an exciting. If Purdue has twin towers, that's going to be trouble for them, for the rest of the Big Ten and probably the rest of the country. So I guess that's what we have to say about that, I guess. But real quick before we check out, I'll go ahead and let you guys know where you can find Big Ten Plus 4. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and the TikToks at Big Ten Plus 4. You must spell out the plus. You can't put the little plus sign. They won't let you do it for some reason. But on Facebook, you can do any. You could even just think about plus, and it'll put it in there for you. We do stream put our audio podcast through oddpodsmedia.com. That's a great family of shows. We are the only sports one there, but we are streamed twice a week on ASAP All Sports All Plays Network. Go ahead and find us there every week. If you miss the stream, we have our video on Spotify. If you must watch what our crazy antics are or are not. So Game Day Gabby, thanks so much again. I appreciate it greatly. This was fun. Purdue is what we have in common, but overall Big Ten, we love the Big Ten conference. That's the big thing is we want to make sure that we're at the top of the Big Ten conference. I'm not rooting for IU, but we all
root for them.
Big Ten.
Besides IU, I usually root for the Big Ten in March. I like to until we lose. I'm always like, go Big Ten, and then once Purdue loses, I'm like, y'all can lose.
I don't care if Purdue's not ending the drought. I don't care.
That's when I get petty.
Well, for Big Ten plus 4, this is we're at the end of the show. For Dalton Shetler, who is out this week at the women's Big Ten tournament, Tony, who's still trying to work out his work schedule and be able to get back on the show. I am Sam Sprunger, and we all appreciate you coming in today, and we hope to see you later, and see you next time. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it greatly. This was fun.
I don't know did you hear my 3-year-old?
Yeah, that's all right. Hey, you know what?